A 40% mandate to govern Canada, that seems to be, according to the most recent opinion polls, the federal election's likely outcome in October 2019, when it is scheduled to be held, although technically it can be held even earlier, especially if the government loses a vote of confidence in the House of Commons. Well, that would mean that whether the official opposition Conservatives manage to recapture power in the upcoming federal parliamentary elections, or the ruling Liberals manage to keep it, about 60% of the voters will have voted against the election's winner. Of course, because of Canada's British-style single-member plurality, or first past the post-electoral system, that doesn't matter as long as the government has a clear majority, more than just 5 to 10 or 10 to 20 seats. But that, anyway, it means that the government cannot claim a very wide mandate, and the government will have to reach out to at least several percent, if not many percent, of those voters who opposed it, and will have to try to show through various laws, resolutions, statutes, executive orders and decisions, which are not subject to the Canadian federal parliament, if there are some in Canada, that it cares about even many ordinary Canadians who have voted against it. And in the worst case scenario, the ruling Liberals and the official opposition Conservatives might even get tarnished in various scandals, or the increasingly cynical and skeptical and critical and apathetic Canadian voters might abandon them in so large droves that neither party will obtain more than, say, 30 to 35% of the vote. And especially if both major political parties only received about 30% of the vote, giving them a combined total of about 60% of the vote. Especially in that case, Canada could be in for a period of long political, or at least short-term political instability. In that case, the third biggest political party, the New Democrats, could well rise to about 25% of the vote, maybe even more, theoretically. It would depend then on their ability to attract support from those voters who, disgusted by the three traditional main political parties, vote for the Greens or other minor parties. And then in Quebec, those people who believe that only, those voters who believe that only the Bloc Québécois, the federal arm or wing of the separatist Parti Québécois, can effectively represent their interests in Ottawa. So let's hope, and if we believe in the power of prayer, pray that Canada will have, regardless of who or which party actually wins the election, a clear majority government instead of a period of another minority government, and especially such a weak minority government that it has to make deals with one or more opposition parties to get virtually any major piece of legislation passed. Since Canada historically at the federal level hasn't really had, during Confederation, official coalition governments, theoretically such a coalition could emerge if no party received more than about 30% of the vote, in which case very likely no party would get even close to a majority of the seats. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, and if either the New Democrats or then the Greens or possibly other medium-sized or minor parties could get a significant number of protest votes. Could a populist right wing even possibly far right or far right leaning political party emerging. Canada, as has emerged during this early 21st century in so many European countries. And the upcoming Swedish parliamentary elections on September the 9th will determine whether the right-wing populist, strongly anti-Muslim, largely anti-immigrant, and even allegedly far-right Sweden Democrats will strengthen their position as the country's third biggest political party, and possibly even hold the balance of power between the traditional center-right parties and the traditional left-green parties. But we'll have to see what happens. Bye-bye for the time being.